Right guys, Peter Finch here down at the Quest Academy at Prairie Sports Village, and this is a Quest for the Open practice diary video slash what's in the bag slash something I've not quite tried before. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an hour-long practice session. A few of you guys have been asking for full-on practice session videos, so that's what I'm going to give a go at, and then talk you through my bag as we go. I've no idea how this is going to come out. I've not attempted this long a video before without any cuts or anything else. It could be a disaster, but I'm going to upload it and then just see what you guys think. Could work, might not, who knows. It's going to be interesting to have a look at the retention levels to see how many people are still watching at the end. If you do, congratulations, I guess. It's now 10 to 5. I'm going to start off with my wedges. I'm going to go up the distances. So I'm going to start at 50 yards and then work my way up through my wedges until I get to my full swing. Just explain exactly what I'm doing within my technique, which I'm changing quite drastically with my wedges as well to hopefully give me a little bit more consistency. So, clock starts now. First of all, what's in the bag bit? I'm using the MD3 milled wedges in the black finish I've done for this season, although obviously a largely interrupted season in the middle. Really enjoying using them. I was using the Clevelands last year, but these are certainly on a par with those, and I like the black finish when they sit behind the ball. They're really nice. So I'm very happy with these in my bag at this moment in time. With wedges, because I'm in a lucky position where I get to try a lot of clubs, wedges are one of the things which are liable to change quite quickly, just because the fresh grooves and all the rest of it, but I could quite happily use these for another year, absolutely no problem at all. I've got my mid-size grips on, and I've got the X100 shaft in the wedges. What I'm changing within my wedge game at this moment in time is I'm trying to use a lot more body rotation. One thing I've always done with my wedge play, and when I'm practicing a lot and when I'm doing a lot of training, my wedge play is relatively good, but I've always had quite an arms dominated technique, so I've always tried to control things with my arms, getting my body set. What I'm doing now is I'm taking a lot of focus away from my hands, away from my arms, and I'm just turning my body through a lot more, trying to get a little bit more rotational, trying to take a little bit more of the hands out of it. Now the way I'm doing that is I'm taking it up to the top of the swing here. It's only half swing, my 60 degree. I'm getting the club set with a little bit of wrist bow, which I've been doing for quite some time, but this really does help. Getting my wrist set with a slight bow, and then really just focusing on rotating my body out of the way and to the left-hand side. Early indications are good. The one thing I'm struggling with at the moment in time is just a bit of distance control. The strike is pretty good. My accuracy with my wedges has picked up, but it's just getting my body in a position where I can hit consistent distances. I did do a distance wedge chart earlier on this year, but that is now liable to change. So I've set the GC2 up. I've set a target out there at 50 yards, getting my club face aligned to something which is just marked on the mat in front here. Low half slightly open, shoulders nice and square to my target line. Halfway, get the wrist set, and then just rotate that body through. That was a nice low skimmy one there. Decent start. This is the one problem with having a full hour length video. I can't cut and I can't stop. So in a lot of the tip videos that I do, and even the practice diary videos which I've done in the past, I'll just skip through all of these things. I'll make it a nice quick snappy video. Well, snappy-ish anyway, but yeah, this is slightly different. With my wedges, I tend to grip down a little bit, just for a touch more control. So halfway set, and then body rotation. That's a little bit more like what I'd want to see my flight as. Not quite as low and skimmy, just a little bit more flighted. Yeah, only a couple of yards offline there, which is good. Certainly with my wedge play, it's something which I need to improve so much. I mean, it's something which we've highlighted a number of different times within the vlogs, but when you go to watch the pros, last time we were over at Turkey, like Danny Willett watching his wedge play, it was just unreal. Like how he struck it was perfect pretty much, and his accuracy and his distance control was incredible. Just watching him on the range just hit these wedge shots to within about 10 foot of each other, about 10 shots to within about 10 foot of each other was was pretty impressive, and I'm nowhere near that type of level at this moment in time, and maybe I'll never get there, but certainly give it a go. A little bit low and skimmy again. On those low skimmy ones, I do seem to be getting quite a lot more spin. These range balls are quite soft, so I do tend to spin these a little bit more. Distances aren't quite as great, but with the wedges, with the GC2, because of how it reads and it doesn't take factors into account, the wedge play is pretty accurate, really. It's just like playing a nice soft ball out on the course. So shoulder square again, that's set, and then just rotating the body out of the way. It really does feel like I have absolutely no wrist movement at all coming through the ball. It's very, very unusual. I'm checking these on the GC2 for the moment. I might power the flight scope up as well, but the thing is with the GC2, because it gives such closed data, especially when using wedges and when just trying to see ball flight without any atmospheric interference, it's so useful for that. The flight scope is pretty good when hitting full shots, but certainly for accuracy, the GC2 is a lot more accurate over these shorter shots. That's very, very good actually strike-wise. And I managed to get the distance pretty consistent on these. I have to turn my heater off. Save the planet one heater at a time, guys. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with how these are coming out. I did hit a couple of warm-up shots as well, so my distance control is okay. So I'll just have one more with the 60 degree. Taking it away again, it's set, then rotating through. Yeah, that's pretty much online. Go on, be a good one. Okay, that's definitely a gimme. And what I'll do is I'll cycle through my wedge distances here. So I'll go from, I mean, generally speaking, with a practice session, you can really dedicate it to one particular thing. So certainly with wedges, I could keep an hour up very easily just using my wedges. But for this, I'm doing a more rounded practice session. So I want a little bit of everything to be tried. So I'm going up to 75 yards. Now what I'll do is I'll switch over to my 56 degree. So there's going to be a little bit more of a fuller swing. About a 3/4 swing, nice and smooth, but again just practicing and focusing on the same things, getting those wrists set and then moving through. So I'm not going to widen my stance too much, it's still not a very big swing. So about 3/4, set the wrists and then just try and move the body through. Would help if I got it in the zone. See again, I could just cut that and no one will know I was being a silly Billy, but I am. Shows around. And rotating that body. It feels like I'm turning with so much more speed through the ball because I'm not using my hands. I'm having to rotate really hard with the upper body. It's an unusual feeling for me. For you guys who have watched the videos for a while, you know my swing is a relatively relaxed motion. This feels like it's very, very fast. It's an unusual one, but early signs are very good. With my wedges, I've got 4 wedges in total. I've got my 60, my 56, my 52 in the MD3. And then also, I've got my pitching wedge, which I'll get onto in a moment because it has changed for now, very slightly. Now when I'm practicing with my wedges, when I'm working on different distances like this, I don't limit myself to a certain number. I think when you're having a practice session, if you get 100 balls out and after 80 of those shots that you feel that you've accomplished what you wanted to, just leave the 20 or spend that time just doing chips. Don't feel that you have to continually bash away at loads and loads of balls to try and get in the feeling that you want. Now with these wedges, because it's more about distance control, you can certainly hit a greater number of wedge shots. But all I'm doing here is I'm getting that wrist set position, really feeling like it's comfortable, taking my time and then just working on that rotation. to really try and get it out there. Didn't quite strike, that's going to need to go. Oh, good bounce. Oh, very good bounce. Yeah, that wasn't quite the strike, so I need to just lengthen that backswing a little bit. I did feel like a turn through there to try and get it a little bit further. Need to have a slightly bigger swing. But again, these distances are pretty consistent, managing to get it up there, 64, 63, 60 as far as pitching distance goes there. So I just need to up that just a wee bit more. See, that's not bad, but that I felt my hands get a little bit more involved there. And it is, it's very, very interesting after a while. Once you've got used to the feeling, you can really start to feel the difference between a bowed set position and a rotation and hands which get active. And again, you guys who've watched me for a while and know about my swing, my issue really I'm trying to get rid of for so long now is real flicking of the wrists through the point of impact. It's a hard one for me to shake, but I'm determined to get there. That felt a lot more rotational. Strike was pretty good as well. Is that a wee bit too long? So I'm going to hit two more with the 56. I'm happy when I get that feeling of the wrist. I'm feeling pretty confident, but there's a general trend here for the balls just to be going slightly off to the left-hand side. Now with that, if my wrists are getting set and I'm rotating my body with the clubs traveling a little bit too far off to the left-hand side with the club face which is closed, it's obviously going to go a little bit further left. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and get the club face set, straighten out that path a little bit more. Still slightly, but I felt like there that I did actually get my path that little bit straighter, and there's a little bit more curvature in the flight. So that would say that the club face is slightly closed to my path. Let me just have one more trying to correct that with path, and then if not, I'm going to have a little bit of a closer look at face. So again, you'll notice how it's just gone slightly left of where I want it to be. Distance control generally good. So I know that getting my wrist set into that bowed position, although for some people getting it set into a really bowed position moving down would close the club face, it doesn't do that too much for me. So I must still be getting a little bit active with my hands coming through. Again, this is where individual coaching really does become important. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that wrist set into the position I want, rotate and turn my body through, but I'm actively going to feel like I'm really holding the club off. So I'm going to feel like the club face is that little bit open as well. Let's see what happens there. Yeah, better. Just slightly to the left. And strike-wise, that felt better. Stop-wise, that was better as well. So one more. I think I've pretty much figured that one out. Down. Come on. Gotta be good. Yeah. Ooh, too good. And it's weird, just to get it set off on that little bit of a straighter line, I felt like I really had to hold that club face open and really keep my hands passive. It's a very, very strange feeling. I struck that actually really well as well. So one more with that 56. Again, focusing on that target line. Set the wrist, turn the body. Feel like the hands are really held off. And I finally got it dead. Oh, that pretty much pitched in the hole. And then just knocked off left. The reason I'm not recording the GC2 here, the Foresight software, when recording for the videos, the file size of the GC2 is absolutely gargantuan. It's massive. And to do an hour long of this would be absolutely pointless. So I've managed to get there, the feeling of what I want. So I'm going to up the distance here. I'll go 100 yards. I'm going to up the distance to 100 yards. I'm going to have a couple with my gap wedge and then up the distance again just to get my pitching wedge. I just want to get this feeling, make sure it's absolutely nailed down. But that's the thing, I've practiced there and I've figured out setting the wrist, turning the body feels good, but I just need to feel the club face is a bit more open at the point of impact and I almost hold the shot. So at that point you say, okay, pretty much got that nailed now. So I'll just have a few more to confirm with the gap wedge, 100 yards. So a little bit more power, a little bit more energy, and again, that's so straight. Pitching after the pin, a little bit of spin back. So I really now have got that feeling. And it, like I said, it doesn't take much. I'm a relatively fast learner in many respects, so it doesn't take loads and loads and loads for me to get used to certain positions. So now I've got that feeling nailed down. Let's say if I was doing a wedge practice session, I would now be really focusing in on my distances. Do I have my new shoes, by the way? I only got these the other day, so these are the FootJoy, these are the Hyperflex, but I got fitted, and these are 9.5. Now, whereas before I was wearing 11 in FootJoy. It really was a very interesting process to go through a shoe fitting, and I'll do a little bit more information on that coming up about how it affects your golf as well. A new side of golf that I've not looked into before. So, same again. That must be pretty good as well. Just need to extend that swing very, very slightly. Pretty good. It's quite good here. I can also check just my plane here with the mirror behind. It is great. This studio, I mean, for coaching, it's absolutely amazing. But like this, when I've got free time and there's no one else using the bay, I can pop in and actually practice myself. It's perfect. You know, for trying to improve your golf, this is awesome. Got all the toys. So, same again. So feet slightly open, shoulders square, just extending my swing just a wee bit more. Set and then turn. Not a great strike, it's going to bounce up, but yeah, it's not finished too bad at all. But on a golf course, if there was a bunker in front, a bit of fringe in front, and would have grabbed and stopped. So I need to have a couple more just to get this feeling of an extended swing along with the feeling of the wrist set and the body turn. Just going to open up my left toe a little bit more just to aid a bit of hip rotation through as well. Much fuller swing there. So that was a much fuller swing, much better result as far as distance control where it pitched. Again, just slightly off to the left-hand side. So I know from previous experience, only a few minutes ago on this video, that would probably be the case, that my club face is getting slightly to the left-hand side. So same setup, that left foot out a little bit more. Just feeling like that club face is open. And now back to the distance and back to the direction as well. So yeah, it's pretty conclusive as far as what I'm seeing there. Very, very happy with those results. So I know what I have to do there. I'm just going to up it one more for my wedges because it is slightly different with my wedges. So I'm going up to 130 yards, pretty much moving on to the full swings now. And the clubs that I've got in my bag at the moment in time, Cobra 1 length. And you know what? I actually think these are a very, very good iron. So standalone, the club head feels fantastic. This is the forged version, the Forged 1. And I think from a standpoint of Cobra, they've obviously brought these clubs out because they've signed Bryson DeChambeau. They would not have brought these clubs out if they hadn't have signed him. So they're almost forced into doing it. But now I've used them for a few rounds, I'm really starting to enjoy the concept of literally having that 1 length iron and not really having to adapt too much within the swing. Distance control on them, I'm not 100% convinced by yet. But what I can do is when I'm over and again, I don't know if this is more psychological and just because what I've got used to over the course of the few weeks where I've been using them. If I'm over, say, The wedge is a good example, a 130-yard shot with the wedge. With my PSI tours, I felt I had to really force it. With these, I can just swing naturally. The only problem is I do get shoots of distance every now and again. I'm not sure that's because of the things I'm doing with my swing or if there's club, so it's going to take a little bit more experimentation. I've got these in the KBS Tour Flight shafts, and the grips aren't normal thickness. They are normal thickness, but they're not normal thickness for me. So these are just a standard normal grip. See, this is where I'd stop. What's the word I'm looking for? Size. These are normal grip size. Normally I have a mid-size grip. So 130 yards. Now I'm going to change my setup here very, very slightly. So I'm going to go to more of a conventional setup with my feet. I'm going to keep that left foot open just to start aiding my body turn a little bit more. And as I come down, I'm going to continue the theme of getting that wrist set and then rotating the body through. Wow. It's a little bit of a chunky one, that one. Ooh, 110 yards, yeah. Hit the ground a wee bit before that one. I was hoping for a little bit of a better contact there. Obviously, you don't really go around looking for a fat shot, do you? Stupid thing to say. Right, coming that up again. It's hard to get a real reading off that when the strike was so poor. It's more like it. Yeah, pretty much bang on the line there. So I'm happy with how they're feeling. I'm happy, obviously, hitting shots like that. With this feeling of having the set wrist and more body rotation in the full swing, I'm seeing shots with very little flight. Now, I've only used this within my full swing really in the last few weeks. I was experimenting with it last year using the Tour Striker training aid that comes down, getting that wrist set and then holding that position. But I've not done it in this way before, getting it set and then just turning the body through. It's slightly complex because obviously I'm trying to work on stuff within my swing about getting a little bit more rotation in the backswing without lifting. So it's possible that I'm thinking about probably too many things at once, but this is the time of the year to actually do it. During the winter, these are the times when you want to be working on your swing, really ingraining new movements. So when it comes to the summer, you don't have to think about it so much. Pretty good strike, a little bit left. It is interesting again with this, well, interesting for me, with this wrist set into the bowed position. Honestly, when I'm coming through, it feels like I'm like that. Like there's no rotation of the forearms at all. But on that last shot, I actually felt my forearms collide a bit. So I know that I must have released the forearms quite heavily at some point. A bit of a sniff there. It's quite cold here in Burnley tonight, but I didn't want to be wearing too many layers rustling around when swinging. So again, set, really try and feel that I'm holding it. It just feels so weird, but the results speak for themselves. I think that's one of the bonuses about using the GC2, using the driving range, using the video as well, which I could do, in the flight scope and all the rest of it, which I need to wake up actually. It gives me pretty much every, conceivable number which I need. It just lets me know. Video work, as far as this video is concerned here, I could flick on the V1, I could use the V1, but I've already had a look at my swing earlier before starting this video, so I know the feelings that I want. During a lesson, it's very important that you always give the client and whoever's trying to improve their game constant feedback about what they're doing. For me, I really know what I want to do, and I know the feeling that I need to have and how that looks on video. Set up, turn away. That must be pretty good. Yeah. Again, just slightly left. Just slightly left. I mean, I'm nitpicking. That's 4.8 yards offline. So from a hole, that would be rough measurements. So pretty much the width of this mat, you know, very makeable putt. So I can't be too displeased at that, but I just want to feel that I am just getting that club face, just hold off just a little bit more. Ah, no, one of those chunky ones again. Now that's not something which I've actually seen that much of until recently. And I think that's probably more posture based. So I have a habit of really sinking down into my posture. So I have a habit of really sitting down, knees flexing a long way to the ball, and then starting to make some odd shifts away. So on this one, just to try and counteract that, I'm going to stand up a little bit taller, to straighten out my knees a little bit more. Try and stand tall and proud. Same feelings coming through though. And then that's the best strike so far. It's always easier second time round though, isn't it? Again, very, very happy with that strike. Very happy. Cool. Right, I'm going to have one more with the wedge, and then I'm going to start moving up to my full swing. Just want to make sure that that nice tall position is set in. So it feels like my legs are very, very straight here, almost locked out. I know that they're not. I know that there's still some flex in that. Difference is immense. It really, really is. Just it's so different. It really is. So I'm happy with how that wedge is feeling there. I know that I have to hold off the feeling in my hands just a wee bit more to really guide it down towards that target. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump onto the iron. So what I'll do is I'll jump. The only thing is with the one length irons, you can pretty much practice all your swings with any iron because they're all the same length. I'm going to shift it up to, I'll go 160. I'll go 160 so I can pull my 7 out. Where do I put it? Honestly, I make videos all the time. I'm not just, already got it out. It's fine. It's late in the day. Memory loss is starting to set in. It's a curse of when you get old, you see. Oh God, half an hour already. Oh, I hope that was refreshing for you as it was for me. With the full swing, the only thing I'm going to try and do a little bit differently here in the practice is I'm just going to focus on getting that full body rotation going back. So really try and turn the body away just that little bit more. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll just switch camera angles. So just a slightly different perspective here, actually looking down the driving range. Similar themes as far as what I want to do, like I said, within my swing, getting that set position, rotating the body through more. But also I'm just going to try and get a little bit more rotation going back whilst keeping the head nice and steady, because I do have a tendency just to shorten my swing a little bit. And when I'm starting the transition to the downswing, I want more time to be able to get this wrist set in. And if I'm swinging short, then my transition is going to be a little bit more rushed than I want it to be. I'm going to move through the ball a little bit quicker than I want to. So it just gives me that little bit more time. We're talking fractions of seconds here. You know, in the long run, it's those fractions which are going to make a difference. So ball position change in my alignment is still down at the same target line. I could start switching it around to different targets, but to keep the GC2 in the same position makes it a little bit more simple. Generally in practice, I will switch the different targets though on the driving range to make sure my alignment is correct to other ones. So hips out, a little bit less knee flex, nice full turn. Let's try and get that rotation through. That's pretty good up on the green, pretty much pitched at 160, which is nice. I'll tell you what, these shoes feel, it's the best way of describing it, they feel really, really stable. One thing which is noticeable when I was wearing my big shoes, as they will now be known, is that when I was walking and when I was hitting, even though it's something I was used to, I was actually sliding around quite a lot. Now, if I take these off and put my old shoes back on, they feel gigantic. Even though that's something I've been used to all the time, it's odd. It's an odd feeling. It's an odd sensation. I can't lie. And I've always quite liked telling people I've got big feet. I've just got normal feet. So a little bit less knee flex, nice and tall, motion around the body. Setting in that wrist position, and then just rotating the body through. Actually a little bit further right, that one. Not lost too many to the right hand side yet though, so not too fussed if I'm honest with you. Okay. Congratulations, by the way, if you've reached this. It's about the halfway point. You've done very, very well. With some of the practice swings that I do, and this is something which I think you guys can probably incorporate into your practice sessions as well, I'll always over-exaggerate certain movements that I want to make. So coming through the ball, I want to get this position where my wrist is set, I'm keeping it nice and stable, and I'm just rotating the body through. Now, coming into impact like that, that is a full-on Dustin Johnson-esque exaggeration there, getting into this position. But that's what I want to feel like I am. Now, I know I'm nowhere near that, but I want to feel like I am. So I'll do a couple of those practice swings, just exaggerating it. And then the same thing, getting that setup. Nice and solid. That rotation away. And then moving in there. It's a great strike, slightly left, but still on the green. And when I connect with it, and when I get into that position, the feeling is so strong. It really is. It feels fantastic. And I don't hit down as much, which is quite nice. I get it set, and because I rotate, I don't travel down through the ball quite as much, so my divots aren't as massive, which for me is pretty important. You know, this year was a bit of a nightmare in respect of injury, just because I was hitting down too much. Obviously hurt my hand, so that's important. And if I can keep my posture nice and tall as well, then I should be in a potential position to have a very good ball striking year, potentially. So nice and tall, posture nice and strong, round and full. Setting the wrists in position, and then just rotating through. It's really good, if I say so myself. Pretty happy with that. So I don't need to keep labouring the point and hitting shot after shot after shot if I'm happy with how that's feeling. What I'll do is I'll switch up from the 7-iron, and I'll move on to the 4-iron. I'm going to go out a shot in a moment. Don't panic. I am the disembodied voice. And I'm going to move this up to 200 yards now, so my 4-iron distance. The one advantage which these one-length irons have is I can literally set up pretty much the same. I think what I will generally do is move the ball slightly further forward, just slightly further forward, so I get a little bit more elevation. One thing I've been quite surprised about these is you don't actually get that much of a loss in height. That is one thing I did expect. I think the 4-iron does go, you know, noticeably lower than some of the other clubs, I think, but it's not as great as I might have imagined. I was expecting this 4-iron just to go about 20 foot off the ground, but it does actually launch up very, very well, to do with the head density. So ball position just slightly further forward than my 7, not much, only half an inch, but the same thing. Same posture, nice and tall, same swing. Getting that wrist set into a position that's slightly off to the right hand side, and as I came through there, I felt my forearms really cross over and bang into each other again. Now normally what that will say to me is I've not got my wrist set into the position. So the club face isn't in a stronger position than normal, and I'm having to try and save it, my old habit, by really flipping the hands over. So again, that just tells me I need to redouble the effort into getting the wrist set into a good position. So again, same setup, That big swing away, then the wrist set, the rotation through. Whew. That was a low one. Again, quite a clean strike, not too bad as far as distance goes. Again, distance-wise, I've not seen a huge drop-off. It was something, again, I was expecting with the one length. I think I definitely need to do a direct comparison, a direct test between these forged and the one lengths, but I do get the feeling that I'd probably be able to hit my longer irons in the PSI a little bit longer, possibly. But what's more important with the irons is that element of control, and that's certainly something which I felt I have had whilst using these clubs. So it's pretty good as far as strike's concerned. So wrist set was good. Let's get that body rotating through as well. That's better. So much better. Good. Pretty pleased with that. So I'll have a few more. Just really working on the feeling, working on the swing. Shelling them out there into the night. It's quite a mild day here in Burnley, but now the sun's dropped in and the night sky's quite clear. It's chilly. Knees bent again. Come on, straighten them up. Only need a little flex. Absolute bullet. I did feel again like my arms just collided slightly after impact though. Great strike. Good distance as well. There's one more with the set and then that movement through. Tall, rotation. Pretty good, a slight fade, but pretty happy overall with that strike there. Okay, that's pretty good. So, like I said, one length irons, practice with one of them, practice with all of them. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move pretty directly from that onto my driver, just because there's a couple of things which I really want to work on within my driver as well. Now, I need to change the settings on this driver a little bit, because when they fitted me out in Florida for this, the weight track was all the way forward, set into a slightly draw bias setting, which is absolutely fine. However, I was hitting some of these on the course, and it's managed to do for me something which I've never really had in a driver, and that is it doesn't spin the ball enough. So I was having some shots which were just dropping straight out of the sky, and that is something which I've never had before, and it is strange to actually be trying to hit something which I need to generate a little bit more spin with. So I'm just going to move the weighting track around. So at the moment it's right at the front with the weight track set to a slight draw, so I'm just going to switch that around. I'll have to keep recording, won't I? Oh, no cuts at all. I'll tell you what, we're going a fair distance here, 42 minutes. Guys, if you're still with me, I am very, very impressed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this middle track back. Oh, a bit of a scuff on the bottom, that's a bit annoying. I'm going to knock this middle track back just slightly. So I'm going to move it just a little bit more towards the middle. I'm going to keep it in that slight draw setting, which I like. I'm just going to make it very slightly less upright, because I think with that amount of spin which should be generated back, just going to move it to a nice neutral session just to see what this gives me. It's one of those things when you do get a new driver, it's really dialing it in, because what you do on the GC2 and the launch monitor and the driving range in the nice warm weather, it doesn't correspond to everything that you're going to be doing here back at home. So I'm just going to change it to a little bit more of a neutral setting. I still feel I can probably hit this harder than my M2 and not get quite as much spin, but this is where again I need to get the M2 out and start testing them just to make sure that this is the driver for me. I have to say so far that when I hit this hard, when I hit this well, it's definitely, yeah, it definitely feels like it goes a little bit longer, but one thing I need to do a little bit more of is test the dispersion, because the M2 for me was one of the most accurate drivers I've had, as well as one of the longest. This so far is probably the longest. I don't know if it's the most accurate, to be honest, because again, heel and toe strikes aren't as consistent as what I'd want to. So setup here, ball position goes forward. Swing wise, I'm doing very, very similar things. I'm not really changing too much at all. Just trying to hit up a little bit more. Into there. That is not too. I've not changed the distance. I've not changed the distance on the GC2, and I've just ended up in the rocks at the back. Let me just alter that around a little bit. Made me feel really good there. Really good here to that length of green. Let's change over to the driver as well. And change it to 350. Guys, if you are still watching this, I have to give you big credit. I'm not, like I said, I'm not entirely sure how this is going to come out, but if you are still watching, thank you very, very much. It's much appreciated. So set up left toe out, ball position just inside that heel. Less knee flex, a little bit of a tilt with the shoulders, exactly the same swing thoughts. Whipping away, not bad. It's going slightly off to the left. So look at that as far as numbers go, not too bad. What's the spin there? Yeah, a little bit high. Up to the 3, I think that might have been a slightly squiffy strike there. These range balls do spin a little bit more as well. Much better. Flight of that's much better as well. Too bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. Sorry, I'm just looking. I'm just looking at the screen. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Distance-wise is slightly down because I'm using the range balls and they are quite soft. But direction-wise, there was good. Strike there was good. Just a little bit above the equator line, which really in this driver is ideal. I think what I might do is I've got some older balls over here which are a little bit dodgy, but might give me some more accurate spin numbers. Pretty good. Yeah. It is amazing how with this driver, I have to say, weighted track systems in drivers, generally speaking, I'm not an absolutely massive fan of, because I don't think they make a huge amount of difference. But I have to say, this one does seem to make quite a big difference. I think that's certainly something that the big manufacturers are getting a lot better at, is really making these weight systems do what they're meant to do. Spin wise, that was 1700. Now if I'm getting 1700 spin and I can get it up to about 1700 launch as well, then that is really putting me on the on the good straight. Now let's see if I can generate those same numbers with a little bit more swing speed and keep that accuracy, because that was very straight. A little bit less knees, come on. Oh, I've ripped that. That's a bit more like it. Good, it's pitching up around 290. I want to see. Spin must be pretty good. It flew great. Yeah, so 2,000. So it's good. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to hit this one more ball away, the dodgy ones that I've got. What I will now do as well is I'll switch over to a slightly different form of practice. Something which everyone should be ending their practice sessions on. When I see it fly like that, it makes such a massive difference to my confidence of being able to go for it a little bit more. Because I know if I'd have hit that same type of shot with the M2, it just would have spun up a hell of a lot more. But that flew lovely. Again, 2,000, well, just under 2,000 spin, backspin. So I'm really happy with that. I think I'll keep these settings for a while, so just moving that backtrack back just that little bit more. Awesome. Right. So those are my main clubs. I'll just talk you through the rest of my what's in the bag as well. I've still got my Odyssey toe-up putter, which I got a little bit earlier on this year. It's quite sandy from a golf played the other day. So this is it's a toe hang putter, but basically there's no real face balance or toe hang. You see there the toes up at the sky. And when I was getting fitted over at Tour X, this putter was simply producing the best numbers. When I'm putting it down now, I'm liking the look of it a little bit more. It's at 34 inches as well. It wasn't a putter which I was immediately in love with, let's put it that way, but it's certainly starting to feel a lot better now, and it's starting to look, when I'm over a putt, a lot more confidence inspiring, because I know that generally speaking the putt's going to come out online. I've still got the Ping Hybrid in a 19 degree, because I've put the 4 iron in the Cobra back in. I've taken the 4 Hybrid out for now. It's an X-Stiff Tour shaft, mid-size grip again. So the clubs in my bag which don't have a mid-size grip at this moment in time are my irons, which I do probably want to change if I'm going to stick with them. I've got my trusty G3 wood, which I still think is one of the best 3 woods out there. I've got it set down very slightly, so I've got this down to a 14 degree, and I've got a Tour ATX shaft in here as well. Great 3 wood that with the mid-size. Balls that I'm using at the moment, I'm going to do a whole other video on, because there's so many interesting things happening within the ball market at the moment, a lot of lesser manufacturers coming through, that deserves a video all on its own, 100%. So what I'm going to do now is just to end up this video. This is something you should always do within your practice sessions. If you are working just on technique like I was always aiming to a target. So I was always aiming to a target, which I think is very important. But something more than that. If you want your practice to actually really stick, and you want it to be useful when you go out and play in a competition, you need to try and make it competitive. So what I could have done when I was practicing there is put a little bit of a score target in mind of how many greens that I wanted to hit. I've got to be honest, when I was swinging there and hitting, I was hitting most of my greens. Again, this is something I need to take in my competitions to be a bit more relaxed. But what I'm actually going to do now is I've got out there, and you could probably just about see it, there's a floodlight which is hidden by these wooden slats out there about 73 yards. And you can just see how the light is spilling out from after it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit some shots, and I want to land my ball just beyond that so it gets into the light. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit 10 shots, and I need at least 6 of those just to land beyond into the floodlight. If I do that, then I can end my practice. So it's a little bit of a competitive edge to end the practice session with. But you can do this for pretty much any target. You can make up whatever game you want. There's a lot of different games out there to use. I wouldn't just stick to something like this. There's so many out there, and I'll certainly do more videos on those in the practice diary. So I've got my 56 degree. I know that this is pretty much a 3/4 swing. Ooh, stomach's rumbling, I need some food. So now I go back to the reset, more body turn. Go on, get in that light. Oh, hopefully you saw that nice and clearly on the video as well. That was banging where I wanted it to be. So that's 1 out of 1. Go on, just go a little. Just short, so 1 out of 2. It wasn't too far away. I think it was pretty much level with the wood. It only needed another yard. So 1 out of 2. That's got to be good. Right over, 2 out of 3. That's a proper fist bump. 2 out of 3. It's a little bit pulley. Sit down. Yeah, a little bit beyond the light spill there. So 2 out of 4. It's a little bit pulley. Now you know what to do now. That's the one. Yeah. 3 out of 5. How can I lose count so quickly? 3 out of 5. Travel for me just a little bit. Oof. I was in the light spill, but it was a little bit right of where I'm aiming, so I'm not going to give myself that. 3 out of 6. So I need 3 more. Come on. That's the one. That is the one. 4 out of 7. Come on, 2 more. Got to be good. Oh, it's just a bit beyond. Okay, I've got to get these last 2. Pretty sure that's going to be in. Yep. Perfect. So, all comes down to the last one. Just what I wanted. Not. No, I love it. Come on, pressure. In that spot. Know the swing. Oh, that's going to be right on it. Be good. Oh, that was like an inch over the top of the floodlight. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to change the camera angle one more time, and then we're done. Right guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've managed to get this far, pretty much coming up to an hour, then very well done. What should we say? If you got this far, comment below big flappy elephant ears. Big flappy elephant ears. And congratulations. Really well done. Hopefully you found this interesting. Hopefully you found it productive for your own practice time. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this again. I don't know how it's going to be received, but a few people have been asking for it, so why not put it out there, see what you guys think. So subscribe to the channel. If you watched this far, you definitely already subscribed, but follow me on the social media platforms as well, which are all linked in the description below. Depending on what time this video goes out, remember there is a giveaway currently on at this moment in time, which is also raising money for a fantastic cause. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.